Hi everyone. For today's video, I thought I'd talk about something a little more serious than just makeup and shopping hauls. It's something that has affected me my entire life. When I was in 3rd grade, the summer before that, we moved school districts and I had to start over. And it was very difficult because that's when all of the bullying started, and it really affected me. I didn't really have a whole lot of friends that were able to stick up for me, and when my parents went to the school didn't really respond much. And the biggest thing that I had going on in the first couple of years there, I had a bunch of different people in a group that would prank call me and just breathe on the other end. It was really creepy, and I found out later on it wasn't only me that was getting that. I had a lot of other people in my class that I was in that also received prank calls. And then I also experienced bullying about my disability, being in a wheelchair, being quote-unquote different. And I also got threats from kids that would threaten to push my chair over on my side where I wouldn't be able to get up, and all kinds of things. It was a very hard time, and I actually became very depressed, very secluded, and just lonely. So shortly after I went into this new school district, I started to mature majorly faster than my peers. I started to wear a sports bra when I was in 3rd or 4th grade. And I remember people going up behind me and snapping the strap. That was extremely, extremely embarrassing. And not only physically developing, but I also matured and got my period. I think it was in the end of 4th grade. And that was even more embarrassing. I definitely felt out of place, because nobody had to experience that when they were in elementary. Nobody in school. I was very secluded. One thing that I experienced that was positive for me was going to a camp that was specifically for people with disabilities. And I started going there, and I was there for 4 years, 4 summers, and that was at the beginning of high school. I was going into my freshman year when I started going to camp, and it was an amazing experience. Everybody, just talked to everybody, made friends, and we were all included in all kinds of different activities. And I finally felt like I belonged somewhere, and that was huge for me. I looked forward to camp every year until I aged out. It was 1 week every summer for 4 years that I felt normal. No disability, no challenges, just accepted. So also, I'm going to have my caregiver Jordan talk about her experience with bullying, and it's different from mine, so I thought it'd be a great idea to include it. And I'm also going to have my husband at the end talk about his experience as well. So, here's Jordan.
Hi, I am the voice behind the camera, Jordan, and this is my story on bullying. I always had a kind of mental disability, which is mostly dyslexia, and because of when I was born, the umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck to the point where I was purple when I was born, because I was too cozy in the womb. And well, so my mind might process normal, but when connecting to my words, it tends to cause me to stutter or be a little to not have my have to slow down and say my thought again. And so I was always a little bit different. Like, I would be taken out of class for like special reading related stuff because I needed a little more help. Like, I actually could not fully read by myself until maybe second grade. That wasn't like a chapter book. Like, it's books that most preschoolers were already in. And, well, I didn't have that many friends, and I remember my childhood friend actually getting bullied at one point too. So I stood up to her because she was a little bit smaller than the person. It wasn't like anything violent or anything, just verbal, and since I was always a little bit on the just a little bit taller side, I kind of stood for her. But I didn't really, but the type of bullying I had was more mental, like, where verbally trashed, and I am going to, the people that actually was the worst were my own family, like, my dad and stepmom. Like, because I'm way more over emotional about some things, so, and when I was living with them for the beginning of my high school career, it was terrible. I felt like I cried every day for maybe a year and a half. Like, I couldn't do anything right. Like, I was lower than dirt. And when I was at school, I could forget my troubles. I could wear a mask where I was smiling the whole day, and maybe by 6th period I would be like, I don't want to go home. I wish I could stay with my friends just a little bit longer. Just not have to deal with the crap. Deal with feeling like it was my family. And you can't, and to me, because I was raised more by my mom, and the only reason I wasn't with my mom was because I was angry because of something that was out of her control, and giving my dad a try. It was a wrong decision that I felt that that now I know I was convinced that it was the right decision because I was visiting during like just a summer trip, and then they were like, we have a spare bedroom, you'd get your own room, which at the time was a really good deal because I wasn't really we were in a tight situation where I was sharing a room with my grandma, my mom, a dog, and a bird. Well, at the time it was 2 dogs, but yeah, I was sleeping on the floor at that time. Essentially because of things that I would rather not get into fully, but yeah. But back to what the actual bullying, it was, yeah, I felt like if I could, I would run away, but I was in Kentucky versus Washington, which is very far to run away. But I kind of always have suffered from feeling inadequate. Or like I could never amount to anything. Like, I think it actually started in 3rd grade as well, if not sooner, just because I was overly emotional. Like, I think that might have been something that happened along with when the umbilical cord cut off my oxygen. Not that anyone's tested this or anything. And I guess I later figured out that as long as you have good friends, you can forget for even a few hours that you are not accepted, and that even the people that you're supposed to protect you are not always the people that will. And yeah, that's my story. And next will be Steven when he rolls in.
Hey everybody, I'm Steve, M's husband. M asked me if I wanted to share my experiences being bullied in school, because our experiences are quite different. The bullying started for me in middle school, and me in elementary school, and carried on through the first 2 years of high school, and then it kind of stopped. In elementary school, I was fortunate enough to meet who I consider to be my brother from another mother. And kids would always, the ones that picked on me, were always able to, like, I'd be driving my chair, and they'd come up by me and play with my chair and make me go or do things that I didn't want the chair to do. And he would literally get in fights with people and get himself suspended from school. Did this constantly all through our childhood. It even carried on into middle school. I remember one time, this kid, he did that, walking along, going to our classes. he was going to one and I was going to the other, and just kind of wheeled his way. In front of me, the halls were really crowded, and he just kind of put his hand over mine as I was driving and literally made me go into the lockers. We still had lockers in our middle school, and that, and literally kicked him so hard in his butt, he literally jumped off the ground. And I thought, oh shit, here we go again. And sure enough, did it right in front of a teacher. And he got suspended. Now, high school, different story. I've been called retarded before and stupid, but not like this. I'd have to say that it happened my first 2 weeks of school. I was a freshman, and I was getting a drink of water. And I was having a difficult time getting up to the water fountain, and I was getting what I could, and right as I began to pull away, I heard this, "Get your mouth off, retard." Like I said, I had been called retard before, but nothing like the way this guy called me. Anyway, that kid, after he called me that, I was kind of stunned at first, didn't know what to say, and there, right after that happened, luckily for me, there was also, I just responded to him. I said, "Excuse the hell out of me for being born," and he responded, "You're excused." And I looked up out of the corner of my eye, and there happened to be a teacher that saw the whole thing, and she knew that how I was doing, and she told him to stop. But long story short, he was 2 years ahead of me, so he was a junior when all this started. Throughout freshman year and my sophomore year, every time him and his cronies and I would run into each other, he'd glare at me, and you know, I had a startle reflex, and he knew how to get it going. And they'd do things to make me startle, and they'd laugh at me. And I just dealt with it 2 years, and probably one of the last encounters I had was they did that. They made me startle, and we were outside, and I had enough, and I charged him, and it was him and 3 of his little cronies, and I just had enough, and I charged him, and it was so funny because they ran like pussies, because they were, and That's where the bullying kind of stopped. Was after my sophomore year.
Emily, do you want to finish it off? As in a bye or something? Subscribe?
I'll do it.
We'll do it together. Hang on.
Let me. Oh.
Shit. God, my stomach is talking.
I just want to say thanks for supporting M's channel, and keep it up.
So thank you for watching this video. It's something that is really important to me to bring awareness to for the future generations. So talk to you in the next video. Bye.